Oh my goodness, do I ever have thoughts about this movie? The quintessential bad movie, do not watch this, keep your kids from ever seeing this movie type movie when we were growing up. And you know what? It's very easy to see why. And on the surface, as an adult viewing, this movie actually isn't really that bad. There's not an overabundance of gore, death, sex, violence. Well, that could be very, very doubted, but it comes off in a very mature way as you look at it through a different set of eyes. Now, of course, it devils in some extreme racial offensiveness and deals with quite literally with skinheads and racial tensions in the 90s Los Angeles. But at the same time, American History X is one of those movies that just is so deep, so methodical, so grotesque that you almost can't stop but just sit back after watching it and just say, holy fuck, what a movie. Now, right off the bat, you have to say that Edward Norton's crazed individual who somehow finds redemption at the end of it all is a fantastic performance. Probably one of his best performances, and just probably one of the most unique performances we've ever seen. He's not a terribly big guy, certainly not as big as some of the other skinheads in this movie, but he is a very intimidating presence in his previous form. And as he slowly starts to become a better person, he still maintains that methodical, intimidating nature. Now, the reason this movie makes you feel so sick inside is that there's really no happy endings. There's so many dark plot lines in this movie. There's so much suffering, so much racial discrimination, so much hatred that it really does make you feel sick to your stomach after viewing it. And it's the type of movie that really kind of projects this really sick, cancerous um, side of American culture that really cannot be overstated and is overly relevant even today. Obviously, the scene where the guy gets his teeth broken on the side of a curb is shocking to say the absolute least, as is shown in full, complete detail, and it just makes you quiver and quease inside. But there's also another side to American History X that's kind of disgusting and despicable as well. It's the side of just this, you know, world that is just so full of hatred, and it's this, sick society that makes you really look at, just an individual uh, or individuals. They've been just corrupted by just a bad world. This is the type of movie that very few people will watch, let alone review. So, I mean, it's something that comes out of complete left field when you've never seen it before. Well, I've seen it a few times. And watching it for this review, I started to ponder on the fact that, you know, uh, was there really any resolution here? At the end of the day, Edward Norton's character's brother dies, and even though they both found redemption in the end, even if they hadn't had stuck to their Aryan ways, they probably still would have had the same outcome. I mean, the other kid that blasted him had absolutely no idea that he was a changed man, so to speak. But so, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just like it highlights just senseless violence and senseless hatred in society. In many ways, Avery Brooks' Dr. Bob Sweeney kind of brings you to this conclusion that, you know what, maybe there are people who are wanting positive change in the world, and they really, despite their best, most methodical efforts, can't really fix the world. And and then that's another thing that really resonates with this movie is that it's all like, can you really fix a system so depraved? Can you really change people so full of evil? And like people like Edward Norton's character, that actually attempt change, it leaves it on kind of a cliffhanger because how do we know that at the end of the movie, after all this, change in his character to try and be better and to denounce his Nazi ways, there's basically a very good chance that after that, and he finds out who killed his brother, he's probably gonna go back to his old ways or get killed by his former gang. It's a fucking crazy movie, and it's the type of movie that when you think that you have the most guts and you've seen Saw and Human Centipede 2 and anything else nasty that they can throw at you, this movie has a particular pin that pricks you just right and shows a life of poverty, hatred, and malice, and just really a kind of cancerous society, like I said before. Edward Furlong's Danny is the type of character who seems like he's a good kid and an evil kid, both meshed into one. There's really no good in him. And even though he tries to be deep and thoughtful, he really just is kind of a little shithead. And there's no real way to put it differently than that. Yeah, like, I mean, and you got that Cameron character who's kind of like the godfather of the skinheads, so to speak, who's just truly evil and nasty. And every scene he's in, you just feel icky. And like it's those aspects of the movie, the dingy apartment that they live in, the grotesque streets of LA that are obviously hood infected. It's the whole scene. It sets the stage for a whole scene of nastiness that really is just like something I don't want to ever watch this movie again. And you know what? Like, it really makes sense along the end when you realize that Derek's friend Lamont kind of changed him a bit, through that friendship. But at the same time, how could Derek have resisted when he comes back to that huge gang hideout and they think of him as a god with that temptation? You almost see it. You almost see it in his eyes a couple times that his temptation to go back is so strong that he's questioning every step of the way, and ultimately his friendship to Lamont is so strong that he truly does change. But it's really not at only the friendship with Lamont that changes Derek. It's also the just realization of how angry he is at the world all the time. And that's what turned him into the monster he became. Someone who relishes in the suffering of others. And it's extremely hard to pick possibly one of the most shocking scenes in the movie, but I would say one of the ones that gets on the top of it is the grocery store scene where they just absolutely ravage the place, and that younger woman cashier. There's just there's so many nasty, gnarly scenes in this movie that really is like no wonder this was the movie that was so bad that no parent wanted their kids to see, and everybody was scared to even watch it because of how shocking it was. And I think it says a lot about the world that you know very likely the times have not changed past upon what a lot of the things depicted in this movie portray. There's still so much tension in the world. There's still so much anger in the world. There's still so much mistrust of one another. There's still so much hatred for one another that really can it really be fixed? Is the underlying statement. And I think that that's kind of what in my opinion, to me, kind of portrays in the movie is that these things, a person may change, but the world, really, realistically speaking, isn't going to get any better. The movie is undeniably a work of art. There's no doubt about that. And I think both sides of any argument can be made in this movie's defense. It's a movie that is deeply offensive to everyone and anyone involved in it. But at the same time, it teaches a lesson that's extremely important. It's a portrayal of race and hatred of one another that, realistically speaking, we're going to spend our whole lives trying to mend and fix. If people are truly to get along, everyone has to make sacrifices. And one of those sacrifices is letting go of things that once gave you shelter and safety. Derek could have gotten out of prison and just ran with his old gang, and chances are things would have worked out very similar to him. A wanted man, back in prison, his brother dead, losing the girl that he loved. All these things probably would have still happened despite the decisions he made in the end. In the end, Derek's greatest sacrifice was letting go of the fact that he has no real control over his future. So yeah, American History X, fucking crazy ass movie. Definitely recommended, but get a fucking palate cleanser lined up, because I tell you, I've been playing Pokemon and just throwing yourself into some world that is not so dark and depraved afterwards is an almost necessity after viewing this movie. Truly a film for the ages, although I would most certainly not call it the greatest movie ever made, just simply because of the source material at hand here. It's a movie that pretty much anyone can get something out of, whether or not it's disgust, anger, uh, totally changing the way they look on life, and all these sorts of things. It really offers a unique perspective into a truly weird and fucked up world. So yeah, that's basically the review. Super fucked up movie. Doesn't really change anything, and just is kind of like just an absolute whirlwind of disgust and insanity. It's just there's really nothing more to say about the movie. And yeah, get that fucking palate cleanser out, because you're gonna need it. And Jesus, what a fucking performance from Edward Norton. This has to be one of his top performances of many, because he's an incredible actor and an incredible dude. So yeah, peace out. Great movie, but extraordinarily fucked.